In a busy city railway station, there lived a beggar who survived by asking passengers on passing trains for money. One day, while begging from the travelers, he noticed a tall man dressed in an elegant suit and tie. The beggar thought to himself, "This man looks very rich. If I ask him for money, he will surely give me a large amount." So he walked up to the man and began begging. Looking at the beggar, the tall man said, "You are always asking from others. Have you ever given anything to anyone?" The beggar replied, "Sir, I am just a beggar. I spend my life asking from people. How could someone like me ever give anything to anyone?" The tall man calmly answered, "If you cannot give something to others, then you have no right to ask for anything either. I am a businessman, and I believe in exchange. If you have something to offer me, only then can I give you something in return." After saying this, the tall man boarded the train and left. The beggar kept thinking deeply about the man's words. Those words touched his heart. He started wondering, maybe the reason I never receive much money is because I never give anything in return. But I am only a beggar. What could I possibly give to anyone? For the next 2 days, this question stayed in his mind, but he could not find an answer. On the third day, while sitting near the station, he noticed flowers blooming on the plants nearby. Suddenly, he had an idea. He thought, "Why don't I give people flowers in return for the money they give me?" He liked the idea and picked a few flowers. Then he entered a train to beg as usual. But this time, whenever someone gave him money, he handed them a flower in return. The passengers happily accepted the flowers and kept them with a smile. Soon this became his daily routine. Every morning he collected flowers near the station and handed them out in exchange for money. Within a few days, he noticed something surprising. More and more people were now giving him money. As long as he had flowers, people happily paid him. But once the flowers ran out, people stopped giving him money as well. One day, while moving through a train, he saw the same tall man again, the man whose words had inspired him to give flowers in exchange for money. Excitedly, the beggar approached him and said, "Today I have something to give you in return. If you give me some money, I will give you flowers." The tall man smiled and handed him some money. In return, the beggar gave him flowers. The man looked impressed and said, "Wonderful! Today you have become a businessman just like me." Then he stepped off the train at a station and walked away. But once again, the man's words went straight into the beggar's heart. He kept repeating them in his mind and suddenly felt a new energy rising within him. His eyes sparkled with excitement. For the first time in his life, he felt that he had discovered the key to success. Immediately, he jumped off the train, looked toward the sky, and shouted loudly, "I am not a beggar. I am a businessman. I can become rich too." People around him thought he had gone crazy. The next day, the beggar never returned to the station. 6 months later, 2 well-dressed businessmen happened to meet on the same railway station. One of them smiled, shook the other man's hand, and asked, "Do you recognize me?" The second man replied, "No, I don't think we have ever met before." The first man smiled and said, "No, we have actually met 3 times." The other man looked confused. "I don't remember. When did we meet before?" The first man replied, "We met twice before on this very train. I was the beggar to whom you once explained what life is truly about. And the second time you helped me realize who I really was." Suddenly, the tall man remembered. Smiling in surprise, he said, "Oh yes, you are the same beggar whom I once refused to give money to and later bought flowers from. But today, where are you going dressed in such fine clothes? What do you do now?" The former beggar proudly replied, "Yes, I am the same man, but today I am a successful flower businessman and I am traveling to another city for business work." After a short pause, he continued, "In our first meeting, you taught me a powerful law of life. We receive only when we learn to give. The law of exchange truly works. I experienced it myself. But even after that, I still thought of myself as a beggar. I never saw myself as anything greater. Then during our second meeting, you called me a businessman. That was the moment everything changed. I realized that people were not giving me charity anymore. They were paying for the flowers I offered them. To others, I had already become a small businessman, but in my own mind, I was still a beggar. Your words helped me understand my true identity. With the money I earned from selling flowers on trains, I bought more flowers and started a small flower business. People in this city love flowers, and their love for flowers eventually made me a successful businessman. Both businessmen smiled warmly. When the train arrived at the station, they stepped off together and continued talking about business as they walked ahead. This story teaches us an important lesson. The tall businessman understood the powerful principle of give and take. Every successful person in the world follows this law of life in one way or another. The beggar accepted this natural principle, and its impact completely transformed his life. He changed his thinking, and his life changed along with it. The story reminds us that if we change our mindset, we can achieve anything. If we continue to think of ourselves as small, we will always remain small. To become successful, we must first change the way we think about ourselves and start believing in bigger possibilities. The moral of the story is simple. Success begins in the mind. Build self-respect, think bigger, and watch how your life rises to greater heights.